In this second tutorial, we will use inverse trig to find missing angles of right triangles. So let's flip over to this part of our notes. Now we're focused on angles. When we know the side lengths of a right triangle and we need to find the angle measures, we will use the inverse of our trig ratios. For example, if we don't know angle A, but we do know the ratios or what sine of A is equal to. If sine of A is equal to x, then the measure of angle A, which is what we're looking for, will be the inverse sine of x. The inverse symbol uses the little -1 up here in the superscript. And you can see that that's above the sign button in on our calculator. If we have the cosine of some angle and we're looking for the angle, and that's equal to some number, then the measure of the angle will be equal to the inverse cosine of the number, the inverse trig symbol. And lastly, the tangent of our missing angle C is equal to x, then measure of angle C will be equal to the inverse tangent of x. So finding angles means that we use the inverse trig ratio. Let's practice that on the calculator. If the sine of some mysterious angle A is equal to 0.5, then we know that the measure of angle A is equal to the inverse sine of 0.5. And we just need to plug that into the calculator. So let's pull up our calculator, slide that over a little bit. The inverse sign is this blue symbol above the sign button. So I have to push the blue button and then the sign button to get the inverse sign. Then I'll put my 0.5 right in there with my parentheses and I'll push enter. I already know that I'm in degree mode and I get my answer of 30 degrees. And that's actually exact. So I can say that the measure of angle A is exactly equal to 30 degrees. Let's try the tangent of B is equal to 0.28. So that means that the measure of angle B is equal to the inverse tangent of 0.28. Let's see what we have here. Inverse tangent is above the tangent button, so second tangent. And then I'll put my 0.28, and let's see what I have here for my angle. I get 15.642 degrees. So the measure of angle B is approximately 15 point, I forgot what it was, 642. Don't forget your degree symbol. Don't forget your approximate symbol this time. And don't forget that it's the measure of angle B. That's how we properly format that. Okay, and our last one, the cosine of C is equal to 1/3. So I know that the measure of angle C is going to be the inverse cosine of 1/3. So let's plug that into the calculator. Oh, I blocked that one. Inverse cosine, of course, is above the cosine button. So inverse cosine, I'll put in my 1/3, close my parentheses, and I've got 70.528, but there's a 7 next to that 8, so the 8 goes up to a 9. 70.529. Measure of angle C is approximately 70.529 degrees. So that's how you can use your calculator to find your degrees. Let's look at one example. I have a right triangle here. The only angle that I know is that it's a right angle, 90 degrees. I don't have either of the other two acute angles. I do know that they add up to 90 degrees, but I don't know what either one of them is yet. Luckily, I have two of my side lengths. Now, I'm not looking to find this third side length right now. I know I can, and I know I can use Pythagorean theorem. Let's just use the two side lengths that are given. I have to decide if I want to stand at angle R or if I want to stand at angle M. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to choose to stand right here. I need some sort of orientation point, so I'll choose to stand right here. If I'm standing here, then I'm given the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. Well, adjacent and hypotenuse is ka. So I'm going to set up a cosine equation. The cosine of angle R is equal to the adjacent divided by the hypotenuse, 5 divided by 13. And there's my equation. All I need to do is go find angle R. I know that the measure of angle R will be equal to the inverse cosine of 5/13. And now I know how to plug that into the calculator, so let's see what we've got. Inverse cosine of 5/13, there it is. Push enter, and we have 67.380 degrees. Measure of angle R is approximately 67.380 degrees. Now I do not need to use trigonometry to find the other acute angle. I know that measure of angle M will simply be 90 degrees, take away the measure of angle R. So if I take 90 degrees and subtract this, then I will have that the measure of angle M is approximately 22.620 degrees. Once you find one of the angles, you can simply subtract it from 90 degrees to find the other angle. So this is how we use inverse trig to find our missing angles. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in our last one. See ya.